Hello there. In this video I'm going to show you how you can use Fluid Designer for 3D printing to create this personalised heart-shaped earring with a teddy bear on the inside, and in this instance I'm going to use a Harrington font, a small letter A, but there are lots of other fonts that you can use, and there are other objects you could use instead of this teddy bear as well. So if we start Fluid Designer for 3D printing up, we're going to use a connector here, a wire connector, 1.5mm internal diameter hole. That's to put your fish hook through. I'm going to use a Harrington font, and I'm going to use lowercase letter A just to keep the weight down. And if I just click Group Library there, that just refreshes this file list. I'm also going to use an animal pattern. Now there are various objects in the folder there. I'm going to use the one here. So it's a teddy bear 002, so that's in patterns animals. And then I'm also going to put those inside a heart pattern. And there are different heart patterns that you can choose from. I'm going to use, I think it's number 15, yeah. So I'm going to use this object here. So if I just drag and drop that onto the workspace, I'll just switch on screencast key, so key presses I make should be displayed down here. Now the default size of this object, it's a parametric smart object, is 1mm by 2mm deep. If you were making a pendant, you could keep it at that size, or you could make it a bit thicker. We're making an earring, we really need to take the size down. So I'm going to take it down to 1mm by 1mm, just to keep the weight down. So view and top view. Now I'm going to add in a letter A, a Harrington font A that I just showed you a minute ago. And I do that by going to File and Append. And just go up through the menu system until you get to the Groups folder. Look for the alphabet Harrington fonts, and I'm going to use a lowercase letter here just to keep the size and the weight down. And I'm going to use Harrington font A, and I'm going to append that from the library. And I'm just going to move that down and position it somewhere like that. Now I'm going to add in the teddy bear, and that was in the folder Animals. So I go to File and Append, just go up through the menu system until you get to the Groups folder, look for Animals. I want Teddy Bear, and I want the second one, I want 002, and we always append the object, so we append that from the library. Now this is a slightly different type of object from most of the objects we use in Fluid Designer. This isn't quite a parametric smart object, it's still a curve, but we can't add bevel thicknesses to this object. As you can see, it's solid in the middle, so you do need to work with this object in a different way. And the way that this object is created at the moment, it's got a extrude value of 1. In other words, it's 1mm thick above the grid and 1mm thick below the grid, so it's got a total thickness of 2mm plus a bevel thickness. The bevel is just this edge here, so it's got a total thickness of 2.2mm. That's the default setting. Now I need to scale this down, so I can scale it down by pressing S on the keyboard and moving the mouse inwards, and I need to sort of judge the size that I want it, the finished one. So I'm going to scale it down to 0.5. I can see that in the menu bar at the top of the screen, and then I'm going to click. Now, if we try and do Control A and apply the scale with this object, nothing happens. It doesn't reapply the scale in the same way that it would with a parametric smart object. So you've got to be careful about the thickness here. Now I can see what the thickness is at the moment. I've actually scaled it down half, so it's gone down to 1.1mm. But I can't control it so easily over here. You can see this still says 1, Well, it isn't 1 millimeter above and 1 millimeter below now, so that's an incorrect setting, that value there. But it's okay, we can still work with this. What I'm going to do actually is to change this extrude value to 0.9. 0.9 plus 0.1 gives me a Z value of 1 millimeter. So it's got a thickness of 1 millimeter in total, this object. Now, depending upon how you scale that, you won't always get values as easy as this. Because I've scaled it by 0.5, half scale, that's why this is working. You have to be very careful if you scale it by any other value. But that's alright for what I want in this instance. So what I want to do is I want to position this somewhere now. Okay, so I'm going to position it perhaps there. I might move it again in a second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this arrowhead now. So I'm going to select the heart, press the tab key, and if I just hold down the shift key, and I'm just clicking on all the control points around that arrowhead, and I'm going to click that one there. I don't want these at the top. And I'm just going to switch off the snap and press G on the keyboard. G is for grab in Fluid Designer, and I'm just going to position it like that, and I'm going to overlap it with the head and with here in this instance. Okay, so once you've done that, you can press the tab key to come out of edit mode. So I've got my bear touching here and here and here and at the top. Notice my letter A is a different size. This is a parametric smart object. I could change the thickness over here, make it thicker. I could set it at 1. If I just leave it at the default thickness, if I hold down the shift key and join it to the heart shape, selecting the heart shape last, when I do tools, object tools and join, it will take on the same thickness as the heart. So that's okay. Now what I want to do is to put a connector at the top, so that's in 3D templates connectors, and I'm going to add in, let me just pull it down, I'm going to add in this wire connector with a 1.5 millimeter internal diameter hole. So I go to File and Append, just go up through the menu system until you get to Groups, and I want templates connectors, and I want the wire connector with a 1.5 millimeter diameter hole, and I can just append that from the library. You do need to make sure you click on this, you want the yellow border around it, and I'm just going to pull that up there now. Now if I go to View and Top View, I can't join all these objects together as they stand at the moment because this object isn't quite in the same format as the heart and the A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually convert this to a mesh. It's not what I normally do in Fluid Designer, but I am in this instance. And I'm going to convert the heart and the letter A to a mesh. Now if I highlight the teddy bear and hold down the shift key and highlight the heart and go to Tools, Object Tools and join it, all that is now one object. And the reason that I've done that, if I just go to View and Top View, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the center of gravity of this object. And so if I go to Tools, Object Tools, Origin to the geometry of the shape, so that's the center of the gravity of the shape. And then if I snap this selection to the cursor, this is selected, the cursor is in the middle here. If I snap this to the cursor, it will put it in the middle of the screen. And what that enables me to do is to take the connector here and put it directly above the center of gravity of the object, which is useful from a balance point of view. Now I could just position that like that, but I've got a bit of a gap at the bottom, so I'll press the tab key and I'll just pull that down a little bit so that it's actually fitting into there. And I'm actually going to change the cross section of this connector as well. At the moment it's a round cross section, that's the default one. If I change that to 1 by 1, it'll have the same cross section as the rest of the pendant. And then if I just go to Tools, Object Tools and convert that to a mesh, all I need to do now is to join it to the pendant, and I can do that by just holding down the shift key, highlight the pendant and go to Tools, Object Tools and join. So I've now got my personalised teddy bear earring wrapped in this heart shape. Because this is a mesh, I can actually check the volume of this. If I just open up the toolbox, go to 3D printing and click on volume, it tells me that that is about 0.229 cubic centimetres. In other words, that's about 2.9 grams if you're printing this in silver. So that's something that you need to take into consideration. If you want a smaller weight than this, you would need to scale this down a little bit more. But I'm going to leave that as it is. So what we do now is export it in a suitable file format. I tend to use Wavefronts OBJ. I saved it as a personalised teddy bear heart earring earlier, and what you then do after you've saved that is run it through Netfabb Basic. You must run it through Netfabb Basic to check that it's all okay, and as you can see in Netfabb it also tells you the volume is 0.29 cubic centimetres as well. So that's how you can make this teddy bear earring. You do need to be a little bit careful with the teddy bear and how you scale it. Thank you.